Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, Jeremy. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday. Good to see you. Slight technical hitch to start the show, but you know, we always like a bit of drama at the beginning.
Yes, why not?
Good. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Welcome to this week's edition of Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up, where we look at everything to do with the London market, technology, change, innovation. This week, we are going to have a look at M&A and some deals that have gone through. We're going to have a look at climate change. But first, Ben, news in overnight that was money. And yeah, Elon Musk wins £1 trillion pay package, creating split screen on wealth in America. So this is the shareholders in the US voting through the plan to give Elon Musk a £1 trillion package if he meets ambitious goals, including massively expanding the company's stock. New York Times here has got an interesting take in the kind of divide that this shows, kind of between the gulf, rather, between the kind of the richest, however, 0.01% and the rest of the America, about capitalism, really, and which side of the fence you're on, whether it's a winner takes all mentality, or whether it's more of a social attitude that you might have seen reflected in the results of the New York mayoral race this week. So that's quite interesting. And just to kind of bring it towards insurance, but I'm quite interested to get your take on this. So the median Tesla worker wage is around 57,000, and this $1 trillion package is more than that, according to experts. And Mr. Musk addressed some of the concerns by saying humanoid robots was a singular solution to addressing poverty. Full stop. The robot remains under development. So what do you think, Ben? I mean, in order for him to get his £1 trillion, he needs to have, I think it's like 1 million driverless taxis and a lot of these humanoid robot workers around. Do you think he's going to get his pay bonus?
I mean, you know, okay, I wouldn't put it past him, but it does feel like, you know, not a silver bullet, but a silver robot, and it doesn't feel like this is going to happen, to be honest. I don't necessarily understand why you can say that a technology will solve all the world's poverty problems and affordability issues. To be honest, it sounds a bit far-fetched. Also, if anybody remembers Tomorrow's World and things like that, we've been talking about robots forever, and they don't seem to have come on very far. I saw some the other day that were doing, was it either martial arts or rugby? But you know, they said, like they always do, they go, well, we're not training them to do rugby, we're working out all the movements, and that's that gives us great progress. And then but they look like the robots that were on Tomorrow's World, you know, 25 years ago. They don't seem to have moved on very much. I know they're used in factories and medicine and pharmacy, you know, surgery and things, and it's amazing. So I'm talking from a completely, you know, very low knowledge base on robotics, but I still feel that this is not going to happen. We're not going to have robot butlers walking around.
Damn. I was really hoping I'd have one this weekend. That'd be great.
Well, I mean, I might be wrong, but
yeah, maybe my timescales are a bit off for tomorrow afternoon. But I saw one. I don't know. It might have been AI generated, but on LinkedIn, they had one of these robots, and they had a mirror next to the door, and the guy walked through the door and asked the robot to follow it, and it just walked straight into the mirror, and then proceeded to continue to try and go through the mirror. And they were kind of going, "Yeah, don't worry, we're safe."
That sums it up, basically. Yeah, they'll walk into mirrors, and they won't. There'll be things that they'll say it can't do. We won't, and won't be playing rugby.
No, that's for sure. But I think the taxis thing is quite interesting, because that's already pretty much established in the US, and if they're able to roll that around major cities around the world, you can see that really driving some change in maybe not the technology, but our attitudes towards how safe these are, and just getting used to that type of thing. And then you can start to talk about what are the insurance implications for the kind of new world where we are going to have more automated elements to our life, whatever that may be. So it's quite an interesting development, that his reward, his package is based on these quite futuristic, seemingly unattainable goals at the moment.
Yes, and I think it's interesting to reflect on, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, not just the wealth, but the vision, I suppose, and what they know is possible is probably quite different from what we think in terms of technology. Even so, there is, as we've said last few weeks, there's digital isn't the answer to everything, and some of it's pretty rubbish still. I mean, I've got a Tesla, as you know, and sometimes the door doesn't open with my phone key, which is a bit worrying. Not that it doesn't, it does after a while, after a bit of fiddling, opening an app and things, but it isn't, it's not perfect. That's what I'm saying. And you think, well, little glitches are still there. Lots of it. It's kind of 96% impressive.
Yeah.
But it's the 4% that matters, isn't it?
I think so. Just before we move on off this topic, I was on that New York Times website, and these are the adverts that it decided to show me. Now, for people on the pod who haven't got the luxury of an image, I don't know what these are. I don't know if you can tell me, Ben, but they look like weapons of torture.
Different
shades of grey.
Are they drill bits of some kind?
Oh yeah, they could be. They're cheap. They're whatever they are. They're cheap. But it wasn't just one advert. I mean, this is all the way through the article.
Yeah. Well, that's.
I was just
robot parts.
Yeah. So to your point that it's not perfect, it certainly isn't. And then I got this one: affordable SUVs for seniors. I mean, what is that about?
That is good targeting. I'd say.
They can just off, can't they?
That's good targeting. I think they know it's just around the corner, mate.
Jeez.
Saga will be in touch soon as well.
Yeah, they already have.
Yeah, they get in early, Saga. I think I got my first Saga thing when I was about 35 or something.
I know.
Now you're looking at the twilight of your career. Think of a cruise.
Yeah, along a river. Brilliant. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Elon, for that. Right, let's bring it a bit more squarely into the realm of insurance. So we have seen this week, Ben, or was it last week? Could have been the Convex AIG deal, which seemed to be, and it got a lot of press lines because of its kind of innovative or complex, depending on your stance, structure. And yeah, I'm not that au fait with exactly how it's working. But I think it does signal a kind of a bigger shift in the market around M&A that we've probably been talking about for the last 6 to 12 months or so.
Yeah, so there's a few things going on here which are worth commenting on. I mean, the first is, as we know, Convex has grown very rapidly and been very successful over its 6-year period, I think. So it had originally got capital for 10 years. So it was a long-term capital deal, and that was a real vote of confidence, I think, in Paul Brand and Stephen Catlin and the leadership of that company as a startup. And people were a bit taken aback at that level, and that was Onyx, I believe. So they've stuck with them, and now they're coming up for this 10-year period. So they're 7 years in. So they were 3 years off. So something had to happen. So they had to refinance essentially the whole group now. And clearly AIG has made an approach, or this has been part of this, and Onyx. So you've got Convex, obviously an insurer. You've got AIG, another big insurer, global insurer, much bigger, obviously, probably 45 billion, I think their premium income is, and then Onyx, which is an investment company essentially. So the deal has been cut in different ways. One, and very important one, I think, for Convex is that they want to remain autonomous. So they have not been purchased by AIG. I think that's really worth saying that. So financially, AIG is not the owner. It is via this vehicle, a shareholder, though, of a significant proportion of essentially the Convex investment. And so that's one part of it, which you could say is a kind of indirect ownership or part ownership from AIG, which is interesting. AIG is a big brand. Convex is also becoming a very well-known brand as well in insurance. So that's, kind of subjectively interesting as to what happens 3 or 4 years, 5 years out, when this all rolls forward. So, and nobody can help thinking about that clearly. And I think Convex have been explaining they are definitely going to be autonomous, do their own thing, keep on being Convex, which is important. And there is another part of this deal, which is and again, I'm not going to pretend I know the ins and outs of this, but there is a quota share agreement where AIG gets some of that return. In other words, they get some of the action on the reinsurance side of the Convex business. And now that's sort of interesting because that means they are part of, they're kind of doing stuff within the Convex world, in terms of their clients and cedents and so on. So that, makes it a bit more involvement. It's not quite that's not distant, very distant, but it's only the reinsurance area as I understand it. I think the other thing is that this is a very good deal for AIG at one level, and they've said it, because they do not have to do a merger here. They don't have the costs of a merger. They don't have the integration issues of a merger and the risks related with that. They are literally expanding their footprint and their scale of their business through this deal. So that's accretive to their business, but it's not going to be costly necessarily. And as long as Convex keeps doing what it's doing, then it's a good deal. It's good for Convex because it's stable capital for another longer period of time, at a time when it's hard to raise capital in the market for these quite often perceived as quite volatile businesses. So there've been a number of funding rounds that have failed for some insurers recently. So this is an alternative, if you like, to potentially an IPO, which would have been, is very costly and also risky and difficult to manage. And so that's it means they can move from a position in which they were having to consider their options for investment smoothly, very little disruption, into carrying on and just doing what they do well and growing out the business. So again, I think it's very good for Convex as well. So it's a smart deal at a time when it's not easy to do deals anyway. they're also getting in ahead of what we know is a beginning to be a kind of freight train of consolidation picking up speed, and they're not having to be involved in that now. They've got focus, without having to be concerned. And what I mean by that is that there could and still could be mergers going on around them, which would have raised questions and potentially reduced options for convex if there were big deals going on and they weren't doing their deal. So I think at a time of consolidation, getting in early is usually a good thing.
Yeah,
because there are only so many investors. They pick out the ones they like. They go for the things that are going to be good and work well, and then it runs out of steam because there's not so much left on the shelves, as it were. So there isn't, the deals become harder to do. So I think that's good for convex as well. So it's probably put quite a few players into a bit of a back foot situation in the market, because inevitably all the investors, all the boards will be saying, okay, so what does this mean for us? It cannot not raise the question. So I think it'll propel more players into play in terms of being taken over or recapitalized in some way, which would mean change of ownership, and that's already happening.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. We've kind of seen bits of this, haven't we, over the last few months? There's been kind of smaller deals, but this seems to be the one that might be the starting gun for more activity over the next few months or so. Do you think that's also going to take place in the broker landscape as well as the
yes, I do. I think it has been happening in the broker landscape for quite some time. I mean, there have been some big some big purchases and mergers and so on. Aon's bought that big, the big what are they called? I forgot the name. Anyway, the big mid-market sector player in the US, and yes, I think there will be more of those mergers, and there are a lot of broker mergers happening all the time. Actually, you don't always see all of them. Some of them happen outside the London specialty market, but both in the global market and the kind of GI markets as well. So yeah, I think that'll happen in the broking market. It's also fair to say that it's also worth saying that AIG did this deal, and I think the day before did the deal with Everest, where they bought a big chunk of their pretty much all their personal lines type business out of Everest. That was another huge deal. So AIG has twice over in a couple of days basically expanded its share of market in its chosen markets substantially without doing a merger.
Yeah,
which is quite clever, quite cool.
Yeah, and like I was saying at the top of the items, kind of innovative way of doing things rather than kind of standard acquisition.
It's just a structure that people are going to have to kind of work out and think about, and I'm sure the Insider will be putting out big articles on it and things like that. But it is unusual. It's not similar to anything that's really gone before, particularly just because you've kind of got this investment group in the middle. Who are ultimately, divesting their investment, which is what they need to do to make them profit. But it'll roll forward quite a bit, and then, the question then will be about what happens in terms of AIG and convex. And I think that will increase, not decrease, over time, probably, because the nature of the deal is to kind of taper down to a point at which the original investor Onyx is out of the scene.
Yeah. Do you think this is this kind of deal structure is going to be the way forward, or do you think other players will keep to the kind of traditional?
I doubt it, to be honest. I mean, again, I'm really way over my pay grade talking about this sort of stuff, but I'll give it a go anyway, as I always do. But I doubt it, because I think what I was going to say is this is about convex and its particular appeal and attraction. And I think it's built a business that's different from a lot of other businesses. It's built on its culture, its values, a very particular type of business. And this is not just me saying this. This is what is said in the spiel about the deal itself. So this is much more than a financial deal. This is a belief, what I might call a belief deal. I just coined a phrase.
Well done.
Hoping the FT will pick that up, or somebody at Bolton coined the phrase belief deal. So it's a deal that's based on belief in the quality of the people as much as in just the structure of an insurance company. And I had the good fortune last couple of days to talk to some of the senior execs in Convex just privately, and I think they are pleased that they're able to keep that culture going, and they will do that. They're committed to that. They see that as an important part of the value of the business, and I like that. I think that's good. So that's why I think it's not going to be easy to replicate that. Stephen, Catlin, and Brando are highly investable leaders. They've proven track record and so on and so forth. Are hard to look around and find others like that at this scale, this sort of 5-6 billion type company. You leap up to those quality, those type of leaders who are that sort of investable leader. You get in Greenberg at Chubb and so on. I mean, even the AIG chief exec and so on. So there are those people. They tend to be in bigger businesses, I suppose. Yeah.
Good. Right. Thanks for that, Ben. Let's move on. Let's talk a bit about climate. Oh, press the wrong button. So article here looking at why insurers are taking up climate consulting. So Tokyo Marine Alliance among groups seeking to help clients stay insured. This actually seems kind of a perfectly reasonable kind of approach. We've been talking more broadly about the insurance proposition, how it's changing, especially if we look at cyber. It's not just about remuneration and indemnifying a client. It's much more around the services that it involves. And I guess this is a similar type of story, Ben, but correct me if I'm wrong.
It's a funny one, because this is an article that says why insurers are taking up climate consulting, but which leads you to believe that it is a straightforward consulting play. And then it kind of goes into this very interesting, kind of rather intricate argument, which says actually it's a bad idea for them to do it. And the reason for that is that they're saying what the article basically says, which I think is correct, is that there is the real reason why these insurers are doing this climate consulting is to protect themselves and to make clients insurable in future. So they're still an insurance play, but they're saying, right, okay, so as more and more risks in this climate space become uninsurable, and government policymakers don't help with all of this stuff, the insurers are trying to go to speak to clients and say, okay, so let's try and help you to become more insurable so that we can insure you.
Yeah.
But the article then says, the problem with this is, and various companies, Allianz has got one called Climate Adaptation and Resilience Services, help insurance clients to assess and tackle their climate vulnerabilities. Zurich has got Resilience Solutions, helping companies to assess climate threats. AXA has got sustainability-linked insurance, lower premiums for clients who invest in flood defences. So it's kind of risk mitigation stuff. But they're not really necessarily, in the view of the article, going to stop what's happening on rates and things, which are falling quite rapidly because of a lot of capital, a surge of capital into the cat bond market, which we talked about last week. And the problem, though, is lots and lots of businesses, too many risks are falling out of being insurable. So the article argues that the pace of uninsurability is going faster than these consultancies could create insurable businesses. I think that's how it's played out, which is, you know, it's spiraling kind of out of control, and the numbers tell the story that, you know, in parts of, you know, all sorts of parts of the world, but you look at Florida and places like that, you know, there are just large tracts of property that insurers won't touch.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not really covered by government schemes either. So it's, you know, kind of, this climate consulting is a bit of a fig leaf. It may be sort of too little too late in a way to stop what's actually happening. So in other words, they'll be consulting to fewer and fewer, you know, companies, because they're not insurable anymore. So
Yeah.
what are you doing? So it's quite difficult, really. I think the protection gap is growing, and people can't afford to pay for this insurance. If the premiums, you know, where the premiums are, and the insurers can't afford to insure them because the claims are so high.
Yeah, and I think it's the little bit, as you were saying, what we were talking about last week with the hurricane that went across Jamaica. That it's not that they're more frequent; it is just the ferocity of them is much more severe. So, you know, in the case of Valencia, there, you know, that was obviously a huge disaster for the people there. But from an insurance point of view, you know, it's very difficult to kind of predict a model and then come up with a
you've got I mean, the problem is also really more fundamental, and of course the risks are the cause, as you say, and things like wildfires and secondary perils and things, and modeling is trying to keep up and not really keeping up, I don't think, with this. But all of it is adding up to basically less and less property being insured. And the article talks about, you know, the Bank of International Settlements has warned of the potential for an insurability tipping point in which large parts of the property market are no longer insured. Allianz board member Gunther Thallinger called this an existential threat to the capitalist system. We are fast approaching temperature levels where insurers will no longer be able to offer coverage for many property risks. The math breaks down, the premiums required exceed what people or companies can pay. So this is the thing that we were talking about in the report that we did with Lieber, which was the innovation imperative, is that insurers, we were saying in that report, or what the evidence was pointing to, was we need real innovation and regulators to leave off so that brokers and others can innovate to cover these risks. But because the current insurance market is not doing that, is not able to do that, and this protection gap will grow and grow, and it's growing much faster than they can. So really, climate consulting, if you like, is a symptom of insurers being in a state of panic, if you like, about what they can insure in future relating to climate. And it's an opportunity and a threat, and it's big. It's really big. I mean, you know, the fact of not being able to insure massive parts of, you know, the American property market, for example, which is hitherto been the biggest you know, it is the biggest insurance market, but a lot of it has been insured. That's why it's worked. Yeah. But now it ain't working, and people won't pay for it and can't pay for it because it's too expensive, and insurers can't manage the claims. So I think a lot of the Jamaican one wasn't covered, wasn't insured. Insured losses were only a small part of the losses.
Yep. Good. Right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. It's an interesting discussion, especially with COP going on. Is it this weekend as well? And the politics of the US, of course, not exactly going in the direction that I would have hoped for. But anyway, let's move on. Rachel Reeves had a big week this week. Set out or lay the groundwork for tax rises, if you believe the press. But more importantly, a group of insurers are going to visit Rachel Reeves and tell her what to do.
Might as well say something. You might as well have a Reeves article, mightn't we? I mean, it is good. What can I say about this? It's good that some of the leading insurers are now meeting with her to talk about, and there seems to be a recognition of the value of the market in insurance, which the LMG, for example, and others have been lobbying for quite some time. Government typically has been pretty slow on this stuff, but they have responded to things like easing the capital adequacy ratios, solvency ratios, and they have also say they've cut a lot of red tape and so on. I think there's still businesses will say a lot more needs to be done, but the government's sort of calling in the chips, if you like, on the fact that they've cut red tape, and they're helping and saying, right, we want you to invest more in London, because a lot of that has gone to Bermuda and Singapore in recent years. I mean, London's still big, huge insurance market, biggest, I think, in terms of specialties. So that is good, but they need it to increase. So I think they've got Hiscox, Lloyd's in there. Convex people are going in. I mean, funnily enough, they're not. The interesting about the ones that they're mentioning are going in are more kind of London-centric businesses. I know they're international businesses as well, but you haven't got. I didn't notice Allianz. I think maybe Allianz is going, but I'm not sure. So there's, there wasn't so many of the globals. I didn't see Chubb's name in there, for example,
right.
Which is kind of slightly. Well, both interesting and I guess slightly concerning is if Chubb kind of says, or someone, or AIG or whoever says, look, actually, London's just a small part. We don't really care that much about it. We're not going to give it a prioritization for investment. You're then reliant on what I call these kind of medium-sized insurance businesses, round about the 6 billion mark. Not the businesses that are the 30, 40, 50, 100 billion mark, who are going to make a difference to this. So I think it's, in my view, if the people who are going, good as they are going to be there, that's absolutely fine, and Lloyd's. But it's a sort of, the challenge is really, why don't AIG invest more or push more? Why don't Chubb push more? Why doesn't Liberty Mutual Group push more? Because of course but they won't necessarily, because they're global businesses, and they say, well, we're set up not to favour one market or another. We'll take each market on its merits. So I don't know that. I guess good to see, and it's positive. Will it come to much? I'm not sure. Don't know.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think back the last time that there was kind of a meeting of the great and the good and the chancellor, not too sure.
There are quite a lot, and there have been quite a lot of positive kind of treasury type meetings that have been going on, particularly around things like captives, which is now going quite well, I believe.
Yes.
So that's certainly has been going on, but they haven't had a high profile. No, I don't recall the last high profile meeting, and not one where there is a kind of very clear ask, if you like, of the insurance industry, the London market particularly.
Indeed. But of course, there's Sue Langley, who is the mayor of London, and tomorrow's the Lord Mayor's show, Ben. So perhaps
I know, and what's the sheep thing? Always in that.
I don't know. We need Paolo.
See these people, but they're always then there's always a moment where they're in with a bunch of sheep, walking the sheep over, herding sheep over Tower Bridge.
Yeah. It's a barbecue on the other side.
It's a quaint thing, but it's a slight oddity, you might argue.
Yeah. When I lived in London, the Lord of Mayor show was great. I mean, they had free fireworks, took the kids there. It was super.
I've heard it's really good. Yeah, I've never been, but I've heard it's a really good day out. It always seems to rain, though.
It does always seem to rain. It's that, I don't know, it's that weekend where it rains. But the ones that I've been to, they put a barge in the middle of the Thames and fill it full of gunpowder and then just basically blow it up. It's brilliant.
Sounds dangerous. Really sounds.
Yeah, it's they call it a fireworks display, but
okay, yeah.
It is good. And it was very, very close to one of the bridges we were stood on. I was going, I'm pretty sure this is. They were like proper, loaded barges full of fireworks. It was quite impressive, the amount of.
Yeah, and they're all set off by computers, robots.
Yeah,
aren't they?
Did you see
where you really need the robots to work?
Yeah. Did you see the footage of the? You know how the drone displays now, where you have hundreds of drones. Where they had one, I don't know where it was. They had one in Thailand, and they had fireworks fitted to the drones, and so they would drop like streams of fireworks, but they put them too low, so the fireworks weren't kind of fizzling out in the air and then dropping into the ocean. They were landing on the audience and setting fire to the bar and stuff.
Oh yeah, well that's always the problem with fireworks, isn't it? Generally, even if they're on a drone, therefore it happens as well, does it?
Yeah, no one was hurt, but it was. I made amazing footage of what looked like an invasion of, like a basically Space Invaders.
Yeah.
But in real life, it was quite incredible.
I mean, very briefly, my sister went to a fireworks display a few years ago where it was fancy dress, and the fireworks kind of went wrong and started firing into the crowd, and there were like 100 Zulus running away from these fireworks and rockets firing at them. And she said it was quite, although dangerous, and thinks it was also quite hilarious watching these Zulus run across the field.
Absolutely brilliant. Good, excellent. Thank you for that, Ben. Nice chat. Before we wrap things up, I just want to say thanks very much to Oxbow Partners for inviting me to their 10th anniversary drinks last night in the Aon building, 42nd floor. I don't know if you've been in there.
Thanks for not inviting me, Oxbow.
Oh yeah, you didn't. Oh well, there you go.
Yeah.
You win some, you lose.
Something else I went to, which I will mention. Tony Gates, the long-standing claims head, I think joined Chaucer at the age of 16, I think, or something, and has just retired or is about to retire. Great leader. Leaves a real legacy there, and there's a good succession. So I was there. Yeah, didn't need to go to the Oxbow. Thanks very much. Heard it wasn't very good.
It was very good. It was a very nice evening, and
you're just saying that.
Well, I am saying it, but I'm saying it with truthfulness and meaning.
You have to say it. Come on.
Anyway, thanks for the invite.
I'm not bitter. I can't go to everything. No. Maybe the invite was lost in the post or email clutter, spam folder.
Yeah, exactly.
Could it have been? Is it? I don't know. I just have a bad feeling about it, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was great. So thanks for the invite and not inviting Ben. Made me happy.
Funny enough, I have had an email from them this morning.
Have you?
Yes. So I have a little chance of some revenge. Yes, asking me, someone from Oxbow asking me something. I don't know what about, but maybe it's an apology. I want to personally apologise, Ben, because last night while the party was good and there were people like Jeremy Burgess there was a certain lack of that additional sparkle in the evening, and we realised it was because you weren't there.
It'd be funny if that email says, "Thanks very much for attending. Hope you enjoyed it."
Get your feedback.
Yeah. Anyhow, what are you doing this weekend, Ben? Anything good?
My older kid's coming to visit, and we're cooking a chili that's going to take about 2 days to prepare, apparently.
Oh, great.
You know, when you do chili in a kind of very special way,
Yes.
like a
Thoughtful.
Heston Blumenthal affair. It's not Heston Blumenthal, but it's one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's going to be that type of weekend. So weather-wise, I think.
Yes, I think it is. It's very autumnal, really.
It is.
But still warm, isn't it?
It
People were
is.
standing outside the pubs at the Leadenhall Market. I mean,
It was absolutely packed last night, wasn't it?
Yesterday all day was just incredible. I mean, you know, nice because so many people are outside. But I'm thinking, God, this is November. What's going on?
I don't know what was happening in one underline, but I mean, they literally. I got there at 6:30 to go to this thing, and it was like 9:30 at night. It was properly pumping.
I have to say, I walked across to the do I was invited to last night, and everywhere I walked past was really full. You know, people spilling out on the streets. It was like the summertime.
Yeah, very good to see. Actually,
it is good to see, isn't it? I like it, to be honest. It makes it vibrant and lively.
I love it. I don't think I'm doing. Oh, logs. I've had delivered another load of logs, so I'll be putting those away, which I quite enjoy in a weird kind of.
Yes, I do. I've got to do some chopping of logs myself at some point. I've had a bit of I did my wrist in a bit, but I think it might be all right.
Good.
So I've got a few. I've got to have a few fires going for when the family are around.
Excellent. We'll take some pictures. We can compare woodsheds next week.
Yeah, I mean, I could do a little video of me doing some logging. I mean, everybody else seems to do them on YouTube. You know.
Yeah.
I bought a new axe, and here I'm going to just chop me leg off.
Yeah, indeed. The only other feature that I put on LinkedIn, which I didn't tell you about, Ben, which sparked from our production meeting, in inverted commas, that we have every week, which is basically a text message between us going, "Are we doing it?" Yeah. The how you unsubscribe from either text or email subscriptions after you've bought something.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult. We had a chat. Maybe we'll have a chat about that next week. Our different experiences of ordering things and then being put onto mailing lists.
Yes, that is a good one. Actually, we've talked about that, haven't we? Which we must do. Yeah, the Canterbury Fish Bar incident, as it's become.
Yes, big news. Big news in Canterbury.
The Canterbury. Yeah. I've got bad. No, yeah.
I've got the Chatsfield, Tunbridge, Butchers COVID incident, which is still rumbling on 4 years after COVID.
I think the Canterbury Fish Bar thing might go on a while as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm definitely not out of the woods on that one.
We will bring you all up to speed with what the hell we're talking about next week. But with that, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.